Hello again. I was almost a school shooter. In 1996, in North High School, I almost committed a terrible atrocity. I grew up in a very violent, chaotic family. My father, from the time I was born until I was 5 years old, we lived in the most extreme kind of Stephen King movie life that you could imagine. People getting beaten in front of me, watching my mom get raped on the kitchen floor, running from battered women's shelter to battered women's shelter, trying to survive from him trying to kidnap us. It was just a terrible horror movie existence. My mom finally left him when I was about 5 years old, got with my stepdad, and we switched from a Stephen King movie to more like Scarface, with lots of crack cocaine, lots of people stealing entire delivery trucks and then just selling them at the flea market. Lots of fighting and drug activity. In that time, I found a really strange comfort and calmness in darkness. I was living in this really chaotic and violent world where I felt like I was living in a movie, but I wasn't a star. I was just an extra who got stuck in all of this crap that I was living in. And I found that there came to be a kind of a normalcy in that darkness. I was the fat kid. I was smelly. I had no clean clothes ever. We moved around so much, I didn't ever have any stability. I went to like 40 different elementary schools and middle schools. Because every couple of months, either an authority figure would find us out and try to investigate, or the cops would get involved and they'd try to come to arrest my parents. And so we'd vanish and we'd end up across the country. Or someone like a school nurse would try to intervene and see the hell that I was living in. And my mom was the most practiced liar in the world and would tell them exactly what to say to get them to do not believe anything that was going on. Then as soon as they got too close, we just disappeared. There was many times in my life when I get woken up at 4 o'clock in the morning by someone throwing a duffel bag at me saying, grab all your shit, we need to get out of here. And I'd end up in the back of a pickup truck and drive to another state that I've never been to before, start my life all over again at some new school, and then do it all again 5 months later. This whole time, I'd grown up, people tell you growing up that there's good people and there's bad people in the world. I always thought I was the bad person. So I did everything I could to live up to that standard. Because I learned when you're told you're worthless enough, and I was told I was worthless all the time, by my mom, by my family, by my peers at school, by everybody I was around, I was the worthless one. I was the nasty one. I was the broken one. When you're told you're worthless enough, you're going to believe it. Then you need to do everything you can to make everybody else agree with you too. And I did. I wrapped that darkness around me like a blanket. I just made myself as unappealing as possible. If I'm going to be the bad guy, I'm going to be the monster, then I guess I'm going to live up to that. I made myself even filthier, made myself more disgusting, started being more aggressive to people who came around me just so I could push them away. It had a dual purpose. It would push most people away, kept those couple people that could see through that and brought them closer. Had a small group of people that would stay close to me. Living in this hell, it just got worse and worse. I started fighting with my family all the time because I couldn't deal with their crackhead, druggy asshole people that were all constantly in my house. I couldn't deal with coming home and immediately walking in the door thinking everything's fine, sit on my chair, and next I have my stepdad throwing my mom through the door of the kitchen onto the floor and then jump on top of her beating her up just because they had an argument over a TV show. I started cutting myself. I still have giant scars on my arm to this day. In all that chaos, I didn't really have anything that I could think of as mine. Not even my emotions were mine. They were all controlled by this chaos I was living in. I didn't have any agency over my life at all. But with these, I did. When I was cutting myself out, that pain and that hurt, that was mine. That wasn't anybody else's. And it was real. Nothing in my world felt real, but I could make pain real. And it's weird how even the most destructive and painful things can end up being comforting when it's the only thing you have in your world that can actually be yours. That comforting darkness, as I got older, it just got more and more overwhelming. But to I was like 15 years old, I was homeless because I couldn't live with my family anymore. So I was bouncing between the gravel pavement outside my girlfriend's bedroom. She lived in a basement apartment, so I was left right outside her window. Or the field behind Casa Bonita. If you guys ever watch South Park, there's that big Mexican restaurant from Denver. I slept behind that. friends, I had disaster groupies. I had people that would watch me just to watch the car crash. They weren't ever actually, didn't care about me. They just wanted to see the flame out. They wanted to see the disaster keep on rolling through my world. So I always had people around me, but none of them were actually for me. Except for one. I had one friend, and he was kind of the polar opposite of my world. Well, I'm living at 12, 13 years old, and I'm bouncing between being homeless and living in a crappy basement with people beating me up all the time. At the other end of the block, there was a kid, and his name was Mike. Mike lived the polar opposite existence that I had. He had a stable family. He had a stable safe house even to this day. He had everything he loved was encouraged. He had all of his interests they would apply. He would find interest in music. Next thing you know, he'd have a ton of instruments. Find interest in books. They'd give him a whole library worth. I loved comic books back in those days. And these are the days when comic books not only were not cool, they'd actively damage your coolness because you liked superheroes. I liked to write. I liked poetry. I liked music. In my world, that was not only just denigrated, but just squashed. Anytime that I looked at something, oh, you're just a pussy. Why are you even reading that stuff? Oh, that's for kids. Or you need to go get an actual job. You need to go work and stop keeping your head in the clouds. Everything I could think of that was mine, just destroyed. Finally got so much. At 16 years old, I am in Mike's shed behind his house. I'd been homeless for a couple weeks before that because I just couldn't live with my family anymore. And I remember sitting in this chair in his shed. There was wooden slats for a roof with holes in them, rain pouring down everywhere. It was his family's tool shed in the backyard. And I was sleeping in that because it was the only shelter I could have. It was winter, so it was raining all the time. But I couldn't sleep in his house because I was a bad influence. So I'd sleep in his shed, he'd sneak me out dinners. So I'm sitting in this chair, big gray recliner covered in cobwebs and dirt, and I'm cutting myself so much that it is a river of blood coming off my arm and pooling on the floor. And I look at it and I think, I need to do something. I gotta get myself some kind of help. I'm gonna die. So over the course of my life, I've known some people that tried to intervene, mostly social workers had occasionally tried to intervene. And they, of course, like I said, my mom stopped them when they tried. But it's the only thing I think of that I can get help. I need to find help. So I thought, I'm gonna call social services. So I got up the next morning, I went and knocked on Mike's mom's back door. I got the phone book and I made an appointment to go talk to a social worker. I did. I got the bus fare, went down there that afternoon. But when I arrived there, they didn't just bring me in, they also brought my mom in. And even though I had produced a bloody razor blade that I had been using just that afternoon, I showed them the cuts on my arm, showed them that I was sleeping in this field, that I felt like I wanted to destroy myself and everything around me. There was no matter what I had said, it felt like I was hitting a brick wall because my mom was sitting right there and telling him exactly that I am making it all up, that it's all just for attention, that all of it's just an act. They sent me home with her. And on the way home with her, she turned to me and snarled and said, next time you should do a better job and I'll buy you the razor blades. That darkness that I go wearing like a blanket, I just ran right into that now. If you think I'm a bad guy now, I'm gonna be it. So I started burning to the ground in everything in my world, even Mike. Anything that even looked slightly positive, I would do my best to destroy it because I don't deserve any of that. I didn't deserve anything positive. I didn't even deserve to live. A couple months go by, my living situation just continually gets worse and worse. Now I don't even have Mike because I've managed to push him away. I am in a field behind Casa Bonita again, and I think, okay, this is it. I need to do something. I hadn't eaten for a month beforehand. I was waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning, shivering, going surviving off of free samples at the grocery store, and taking a bath in their shower or in their bathroom. I think I need to do something. I warned them last time I was going to come and they brought my mom in, so I'm not going to warn anybody this time. I know that across the street from where I was going to school, because I was never actually in school, I just was at school all the time, because otherwise I'd get arrested for truancy. Across the street from the school there was a sign that said mental health. I didn't know what it was for, I just know that it said mental health. So I went there the next day and I go up and I say I need to talk to a counselor. Luckily for me it was a counseling center. I went inside, talked to a young woman who was early 20s. I can't think of exactly why, but a combination of the fact that the first agent wasn't able to help me, and I think because she was young and untrained, she just said, I'm sorry, there's nothing I can do for you. There's no help I can give you today. Even though, again, I pull out a blade razor blade, one of those old square kinds you used to put in your razors. Pull out a bloody razor blade, showed them the fresh cuts on my arm, told them that I was going to be leaving there to go sleep in the field 3 blocks away. I'm sorry, there's nothing I can do for you. And as I walked out of that social worker's office, I felt my brain just shatter. And I found this really weird phenomenon. All the years beforehand, I've lived in what I would call like a tsunami of pain. Just this constant swirling mass of anger and despair, and it was just this chaos I was living in. But when I walked out of that door and I felt my brain shatter, I found out what was under that pain. People talk all the time in their imagery about depression, about going down the spiral, going down into the depths, going down into depression. There's a reality to that, okay? In the first stages of it, it's self-loathing. You start to hate yourself, like I did. I started in the beginning, I hated myself. I was the bad person. That can shift, and that can grow into hating everything around you. That you hate it because it hurts you. And everything around you is pain, so you start to despise it. Then that moves even further, and the tornado intensifies, and you start to want to destroy the things around you. Not physically destroy, but just make everything around you just go away. Just break it. Burn your world down. That's where I was living for the years beforehand. But once you hit the bottom, all that tornado and tsunami goes away. All that anger and all that chaos, that just vanishes. Because when you really don't have anything left to care about, and you really don't have anything left to lose, there's nothing that can hurt you. And when you don't have anything to lose, you can do anything. That's a terrifying thought. So, across the street from the mental health place, that was my high school at the time. And at the ROTC door of the high school, I had known that there were some gangbangers that had been hanging out there all the time. This was mid-90s, so gangs were still really prevalent in Denver. And I knew that they had brought guns to school. They brought them and shown them off a couple times, like showing off their pistols and stuff. And they knew that I wasn't a narc. Obviously, I was the homeless kid living in the field, in the parks. So they knew I wasn't gonna rat him out to anybody. And they had sold drugs to my family before, so we kind of known each other on a first name basis. So I go up to him, I'm like, hey, can I get a gun? Preferably one that shoots a lot of bullets. He's like, yeah, sure, give me 3 days, give me an ounce of weed. I'm like, all right, cool, that's no problem. Getting the drugs were no issue. I just went to my family's house and stole an ounce from the druggie sleeping on my mom's floor. Went and give it to the guy, okay? And this is, again, price scale, late 90s, that's like $500, $600 worth of weed that I stole. Go and give it to this guy. And he said, all right, cool, give me 3 days. I'm like, all right, fine. I know that now I had planned the attack. Because in the years beforehand, when I was living in that darkness and wearing it like a shield, hanging out with those disaster groupies, sometimes we fantasize about that stuff. It's a weird thing no one ever talks about. But you know how sometimes with your group of friends you're talking about, well, there's this sports team, or what that girl you like in there, or you ever see that movie? With my friends, we'd sit around and talk about killing people. We'd sit and talk, well, if you're gonna kill people, how would you do it? If you're gonna take a lot of people, well, you do it this way. And it was like the fiction of the group. Because self-destruction was what was positive. So over those years, I had planned out either the easiest ways to go is either go right in through the windows, going into the lunch area of my high school, or go down the street to the mall food court. Either one is massive amounts of attack with the smallest amount of response. And wasn't about armed guards. People have that misconception too, that well, maybe there should have been armed guards. There were multiple armed police officers stationed in North High School at all times. That was part of the plan. So it wasn't even a factor to me. It just made me alter where I was going to attack. Luckily, though, I wasn't alone in that darkness. I was kind of in that space, looking back now, I was kind of in that spot of trying to give away things and say goodbye to people. And I went to Mike's house, because he had been one of the only positive things in my entire life. And I went there just thinking I was gonna kind of say goodbye. And instead, he brought me in and treated me like a person. When you're treated like a person, you don't even feel like you're human. It'll change your entire world. And it changed me. He just sat me down and he's like, dude, it's gonna be okay. These things you're going through, this hell that you're living in, you're not broken. You're not a monster. You're just going through hell. You're gonna be okay. He sat down with me and we had a meal, watched a movie, treated me like it was just a regular day, like it was just a Tuesday. Not like I was some broken monster, not like I was some kind of project that needed to be fixed, not like I was some number that was a danger, just that I was a person in pain. I never went and got the gun. I stayed at Mike's house that whole week. His love saved my life. But that depression didn't go away. That my life situation didn't change. I stopped the attack, but I was still living in hell. About a year and a half later, it just continues spiraling down. And at this point, I am not homicidal anymore, but I'm very suicidal. I just wanted to end it. So on my eve of my 19th birthday, I went and got a ton of prescription drugs that I stole from my mom, because she was like a walking medicine cabinet. So I just stole a ton of pills from her. Stole a whole bunch of cocaine from her too. And then got a hold of a whole lot of LSD. And I was planning on going to that field by Casa Bonita and killing myself on the night of my 19th birthday. I knew from the previous time with Mike that people were watching me. So I was trying my best to not look like anything was ordinary. I was trying to disguise it and act like it was just completely a regular day. So I went to hang out with Mike during the afternoon because that was what I would normally do. And I wasn't in that giving away phase. I was trying to actively just be like a regular day. Mike had a friend circle of his own. Okay? Mike was a very social guy, and I was always the necessary evil. If you want to hang out with him, you had to put up with me. But none of them were my friends. They were all his friends. But they all knew me. And one of them was this girl named Amber. And we'd go over to Amber's house occasionally, and we'd go sit down, watch a movie, eat a meal, whatever. Like, kick it for a couple hours and then go do our thing. It was a normal thing, just go see one of his friends. And he's like, okay, we're gonna go see Amber today. I'm like, okay, fine, thinking nothing of it. So we go up there, and it wasn't a normal day. Instead, it was a surprise birthday party for me. And instead of going home and killing myself, I sat there and had a fresh baked blueberry peach pie and spent a night with 14 people who love me, and just spent that night instead. Jumped all the drugs down the toilet and stayed there and had a great night. That was the last time I ever tried to kill myself. We need to give love to the people we think deserve it the least, because they need it the most. Treat them like it's a Tuesday. Show that kid into the darkness that feels like he's alone and feels like he's a project, that he's just a person living in that pain. Sometimes it's hard to not see people as projects because you have requirements, you have regulations, you have to get them some kind of help. Speaking as someone who lived in that pain for a long time, sometimes the biggest help you can do is just be there. Just be the one spot that's not gonna look at me like I'm broken. Be the one spot that's not gonna disappear because this time I smell really bad, or this time I say things that are really offensive. Be that one spot that's not gonna vanish like everything else in the world does. Give love to people who you feel deserve it the least because they need it the most. Thank you.